This is John's birth story of Jesus. This is John's story of Jesus' birth, and it is an introduction to the whole of the gospel. It is also John's creation story. It, like Genesis 1, introduces the whole of the story that is to follow, which is a new story of the creation of the world. In the background of this story is the extraordinary experience of Jesus. John, those who composed this tradition, were simply overwhelmed by the character of Jesus. And that wonder, that extraordinary impact of this one person on them and on the world, lies behind this story. When you tell this, you want to convey that extraordinary impact in the tone in which this hymn is recited. It is a hymn to be told in a spirit of love, of honor, of glorification, and of worship. The spirit of this Logos hymn, this hymn of the Word, is a spirit of the recognition of the presence of the Holy, the presence of God in the midst of human life. The hymn is cosmic in its scale. I've just been reading about a new gamma ray detector that is going to be blasted into space and will circle the world to perceive gamma rays that are produced by the explosions of supernovas throughout the cosmos. That's the spirit of this hymn. Jesus exploded upon all of creation, and the energy that was generated by his life, death, and resurrection radiates throughout all of subsequent history. And it also, as John recognized, sets all of previous history in a new context. The creative power of the Word, of the story told and heard by people, is then linked with the energy that created the whole of the cosmos. This creative energy of life, of hope, of love, that energy is what radiates through this Logos hymn. One of the dynamics that is present in this hymn is the contrast between the light that Jesus brings into the world, which also is a verbal thread with the first day of creation, the creation of light and the separation of light and darkness. So also here, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. That metaphor comes from Genesis 1, but it is also descriptive of the stories that are to follow, of the conflict between Jesus and his adversary, of those who were given new light, like the man who had been born blind, who saw and upon whom light dawned. The people who believed in him then found in that experience that their life was transformed. It was set in a new light. So one of the phrases that occurs in the hymn is that Jesus gave those who believed in him power to become children of God. So just as they recognized that he was one with God, so also Jesus gave people who believed in him the ability to become children of God, to be born of God's Spirit. So this capacity of intimacy with God, Jesus gave to others. It is also implied that that Spirit, that ability to be a child of God, is also given to those who hear and believe in the story that follows this hymn. The Word then becomes flesh in Jesus, but it also becomes flesh in the telling of this story. So the embodiment of the Word that happens in the storyteller telling this story about Jesus is also part of then this extraordinary energy. So another characteristic of the telling of this story needs to be then that kind of energy and the conveying of, the communication of the energy of God that was made present in Jesus. It is also related to Jesus' identity as the Son of God. And through his relationship with God, Jesus made known God's very identity, the character of God. So these are words of love, of honor, of glory, holiness, of awe and wonder. They are also words of intimacy, joy, light. So as you tell this story, pay attention to the energy that is generated by these words and the dynamics that are created between you as the teller and performer of these words and those who are listening. That dynamic, that intimacy and joy that is created in this telling of the hymn is itself part of the energy of Jesus' Spirit being continued in the telling of his story.